We have been to a lot of Q&As, and I have never had a director's chair.
You made it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Your dues must be like out of control.
Shut up.
It's worth everything.
Well, we have, you want to say anything?
I'm just so happy to see everybody here. It's just very gratifying. It took a long time to make the film. So when we have people who come to see it and there's feedback and people are curious and happy, you know, that makes my year. So that's you know, it's the best. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
When I saw the film for the first time, I went wild, and I was ready to call David Magdal, the marketing genius behind this film. And but I thought, well, before I call him, I see the phone number of the director on this disc. So I called Constance in New York, and I just went off telling her how amazing this film was, how much I loved it, how much I wanted her to come to San Diego. And she said, thank you, that's so nice to hear. Wait a minute, who is this? So I'm glad we pulled it off, and I thank you so much for honoring us with your presence. I noticed we have an extra chair down there.
What to do?
Any ideas? No?
Let's,
Yeah, it does look like a high chair, so maybe it's for a young person. I don't know.
well, would you like me to?
Yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, if you would put your hands together, please, for Mr. Kevin Clash.
Testing, one, two. Sorry, I was admiring the other movies,
That was Tower House.
watching trailers. So questions.
Welcome to the Cinema Society. I'm sure there's a few questions. Yes, please.
It's always wonderful to see someone follow their dream and be able to do it. But to see how many children around the world that you make happy is awesome to be part of that experience.
No, it's very exciting to me to not only be able to do what I do here, but enjoy it all around the world and meet these wonderful puppeteers and be able to give them what Jim gave me. It's been very, very exciting, definitely. Yeah, thank you.
Question in the back, yes.
I was amazed at how much older family footage you had.
Oh, the older footage. Yeah, it was a show called Big Blue Marble that aired on PBS, and they it was wonderful film crews would go around the world and shoot kids doing unbelievable jobs at a young age. And they called up Kermit Love, who you saw in the film, and asked did he know of a young puppeteer. And he said, yes, I do. And he said my name, and that's how that happened. They went down to Baltimore, and they shot me with my family, and I did a live show, and fortunately they shot me with Stu Kerr and at Channel 2 with the show that I was doing, Caboose, a local show. And then they took me up to New York and shot me with Kermit Love and in his studios and stuff like that. And so fortunately Connie and them found that footage and they put it in there. Yeah, right here.
Question here, yes.
I just want to comment what a wonderful film this is and what is going on in our world. To see a film that shows a man who followed the American dream and made something from just a dream, and that how it can happen, and to show that encouragement to people that dreams can come true and can happen. Thank you so much for putting this to the American public right now.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
A lovely Valentine, yes.
I have a question for Connie. What gave you the idea to make this film?
What gave you the idea to make this film, Connie?
I was really lucky because my husband is a cameraman. He shot this. And he's back in New York with our daughter now. He wishes he could be here. But he was working at Sesame. And he came home one day when our daughter was really tiny with a a little recorded message that Kevin and Elmo had made for her. And of course, I knew who Sesame was because, you know, I would watch with her, and I loved the Elmo character. He really stuck out in my mind as the one that captured my imagination, and she loved him too. And so when he brought that home, I was just so moved that somebody would take the time to do this for us. And that talented person, I was wondering, who is the man? It was just pure curiosity. Who is that man? And then James called a few years later. I'm on the set again. And he said, Kevin Clash is here again today. And I just blurted out. It was not premeditated. I just said, please tell that man that your wife has a crush on him. And I said this to my husband. And wants to make a documentary about him. And then we were off and running. So that's how it all started. Just luck.
Wow. Another question? Yes.
What happens when you go to different countries and the children don't speak the same language? How do they respond? Do you speak in English?
What happens when I go to different countries and with the kids? You know what? That's what's so wonderful about Elmo. It's not really about the talk, the speech in these different countries. Again, it's about the love. So it's the hugs and kisses and so as far as the dialogue goes, you know, they really don't have a conversation. They laugh together, and they just have a play date that way. If they choose to get into a conversation, then Elmo, you know, or I will have a translator right there that will say it in their language. But for the most part, it really doesn't really go into that. If it's children, that's all they're doing is just looking at each other, laughing, and hugging and kissing. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
First of all, Andy, you should have warned us about Kleenex. And second, that little girl at the end that came in who was doing what you did so long ago, she was so...
Well, it was a young man. Yeah, he's a young boy. That's okay. He was 11 years old. What was really interesting, and there's a wonderful puppeteer that works with us. Her name is Leslie Carrera. She performs Abby Gadabby on Sesame Street, and she was in Atlanta. She was in, excuse me. She was in Atlanta at the time. Excuse me, I need to put Elmo on to clear my throat very easily. And she was doing a live performance, and this young kid was in the audience with his puppet on, with a puppet, watching her doing her show. And she met him afterwards and just fell in love with him and called me up and right then and there and said, listen, you gotta meet this kid. And at the same time, well, actually, about maybe 4 days after, Connie called me and said that I know of a young puppeteer that they might be able to put in the film, you know, like Kermit did. And I said, wow, really? And so that's what happened. You know, Tao became a part of the movie right then and there.
Can I give a little update
Sure.
about Tao? Tao is incredibly talented. Kevin, I've said, Kevin, is he talented? Kevin says he's really talented. And he's going to be performing in the Macy's Day Parade this year
Sure.
with a Muppet, thanks to Kevin. Is that the coolest thing?
What happened to Kermit? He lived to be 91, 92. Yeah, and matter of fact, what was so nice is I got to see him before he passed. He got inducted into the Theater Hall of Fame at this wonderful theater. He didn't know I was going to be there. And I think I actually brought Elmo also and surprised him. And it was wonderful. He was screaming over everybody else, Kevin! Kevin! It was like everybody else. Who was there? Yeah, you were there. And,
Shot it. Well,
and
DVD
James.
extras, okay?
Yeah, James.
DVD extras.
So it was really wonderful to. He was an unbelievable mentor, phenomenal mentor. He was, you know, what I loved about Kermit is his imagination and his creativity was continuous. You couldn't have a direct conversation with him because he would be talking to you about something and he'd see something out of his eye. He'd say, oh, did you see that? That's very interesting. It would be great to design. Then he would come back to you and oh, did you see that cargo pad? You know, it's like he was always observing life and his creativity was continuous. So that was always something that I enjoyed having lunch with Kermit. He would always drink hot water and lemon. That was about it. Yes, right here.
Yes. At this point, have you settled solely on Elmo, or are you still doing other characters?
Or have I settled solely on Elmo? Well, that's the fun about Sesame Street. I still perform Hoots every once in a while, which is a 75-year-old owl that plays the sax on Sesame Street, and then miscellaneous cows and chickens and pigs and monsters and grouches. Or a piece of bread or a pencil, or, that's what's so wonderful about Sesame Street, the variety that you get to do on the show. It's never a dull moment, never is, so it's always fun. And also creating new projects outside of Sesame Street I'm involved in now too, so it's a continuation of creativity, which I love.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right up here. Yes?
About what year was Elmo maybe just taking off?
Well, with me,
For this?
yeah, well, with me, I started performing in like 85, 86.
Yeah, the reason is my kids grew up with Sesame Street.
Right.
And then when my daughter was 6th, 7th grade, Elmo came along.
Sure.
So all the kids in middle schools glommed onto Elmo.
Sure.
Because of the love factor, and they were giving each other Elmos and presents, and it was crazy.
No, it was amazing. Yeah, around 85 I started performing him, and then, wow, I would think 90, 91, he really started to catch on, and the writers started writing a lot more for him, and then the toys started developing. It wasn't until Tickle Me Elmo that everybody really connected to a toy, an Elmo toy, an Elmo doll. But it was a continuation. It was really kind of fun, the process, because we have a huge, enormous research department that goes out and screens these different shows with specific characters to see how they work and see if they're actually teaching, if the child enjoys. It's so funny, the cycle, because when I was talking about how I would do my puppet shows, and I put a sheet over the clothesline and do my shows for my mom's daycare kids, if one crawled off when I was doing a certain song, I'd take that song out, So it's this cycle now with Sesame Street and Research Department. They go out and they screen it with the child, and if the child moves away, and not paying attention, they know that they have to change something, or they have to change the character, or maybe the character's not working. Yes, right here.
Did you ever go back to a high school reunion?
Have I ever gone to back to high school? I tell you, it's either I'm not available to do it, and one time I went down to Turner's and I did a whole meet and greet with a lot of my neighborhood friends and gave toys out, and that night was supposed to be the class reunion. I went back to the hotel to take a shower and everything, fell asleep, woke up at 2 a.m. and missed it. See, getting old. I mean, I might perform a 3.5-year-old, but I'm still 51 years old. They're ready.
Your love for your daughter comes through loud and clear.
I hope so. Thank you.
Tell us, what has become of her, what she's doing?
Well, she's in University of Maryland now. She's in College Park. And she's running around saying, I'm a terp, I'm a terp. So that's what she's doing now. She's majoring in mass communications. What was really neat is she had said, Dad, I want to interview someone in the business, and can you set that up? And I actually was going to have an interview with Katie Couric. She was going to interview me for a project that she was working with us. And so I said, Katie, I asked her, would you give Shannon 10 minutes to ask you some questions? She said, sure. And so what happened is they finished interviewing me, and she looked over to, Katie looked over to my daughter and said, Shannon, listen, since we have the cameras set up and the lights and everything, and everybody's still here, would you like to interview me on camera? And Shannon said, sure. So she put the mic on, her mom and I like, and she was unbelievable. She had a little paper, she had 10 questions, and she went through, and the last one was, now, if somebody was interested in say, like, apprenticing you How would you go about getting that? And Katie said, wow, you're ready, aren't you? So it was really, really sweet. But what was really interesting is coming into CBS Studios, and this was a place that I came to where we shot Captain Kangaroo. And so I'm looking for my daughter. I see Gina, and I'm like, where's Shannon? And this beautiful woman with this, blazer on and skirt and shoes, and this is my daughter. She said, Daddy. She's standing right beside me. Had no idea. Well, they grow up quickly, don't they? Yes.
So the physical aspect of puppeteering is fascinating, and how you can make them animated or move or dance or whatever. So do puppeteers have any problems with carpal tunnel?
The physical aspect, yeah. Carpal tunnel and stuff like that. I think because we're moving around so much, it's not normally in one position that we don't really get that. I mean, there's challenges that some of us has had. Dave Goals, who performs Gonzo, had operations on his shoulder. And what was really interesting, he went into the doctors, and the doctor took x-rays, and he said, do you do this all the time? Are you a tennis player? And then he explained what he did and everything. So sometimes you have to really be careful. But for the most part, we tend to not have that much trouble. Carol Spinney's 78 years old, and he's still performing Big Bird. Now, I try to put it on, and I can only have it on for like 5 minutes. But he's still performing, and he performs Oscar the Grouch also. So he's amazing. He's amazing. Yes, right here.
I wondered about your parents. They
Yes.
must have been very thrilled and happy for you because they really were very supportive.
Yeah, they've been very, very supportive, very happy. Well, they had a lot to do with this. A lot to do with this. They've been very, very supportive, continue to be. Connie can tell you, my mom called her up for a week, once a day, saying, "It was wonderful, it was great. How did you get this and this and this?" So, no, they're very, very happy and very excited. And it was so funny. They were interviewed so long ago, they had forgot about the documentary. Well, the whole family had forgot about the doc, and it wasn't until June of this year that they got to go and see it all together. And they said, "Wow." So they had no idea. So it was a huge, huge surprise. I mean, I've been involved with it because they've been shooting me, and then involved with getting whatever materials they needed. So I was involved with it from beginning to end. So it was really wonderful to see it with them. It was like a whole nother cycle of enjoying it and watching what they got out of it.
And it was cool because your sisters came up to us afterwards and said, "Oh, that's what he does." We see the end product, but we didn't know what his days were like. And also Shannon said, "I didn't know he cried at my party." She said,
She didn't know I cried when I was
She was
16.
like,
And I tried to get that taken out. So you don't need that. What do you need that for?
Over did.
I know, it was like, well, you just don't, you're so into, when you get Sweet 16, you're running around, getting everything done, wanting it to be special for her, and then, the special moments that happen, it just it gets you, and that was one of the, I'm not going to talk about it. I saw your hand up. Yeah, everybody, I'm making everybody clear their throat now. Sorry.
During World War II, my parents, to get us to finish our dinner, would tell us you have to finish your dinner for the starving children in Asia. It shouldn't make much sense. Somehow it passed through a generation, and now my children, who have my grandchild, a young little girl, at age 2 years old, they'd only let her watch Elmo on Sesame Street. But she had to finish her dinner.
See, that's great.
Before she could watch it. How did she get to be so nice?
So nice?
Nice.
Well, you saw my mom and dad. They taught us well. They did taught. What was really interesting, one time, Big Bird, this is how, just how people gravitate, how kids gravitate to the show. Big Bird was doing this monologue, 2-camera talking to the child. And Carol Spinney had to go and use the bathroom. And so he said, so kids, blah, 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 and I have to go to the bathroom. And he just left the shot, and everybody's laughing, ha, 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 ha. Well, they edited it, and they left that in. And everybody's, but they got these wonderful letters of children going to use the bathroom when they had to go. So even when we're not trying to educate, we're educating. It was amazing. That's how connected each generation is to this show. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. Go.
You haven't been looking over here.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Just yell. Kevin!
Why did it take so long to make the show, and was it a difficult show to film?
Why did it take so long to do the doc? Oh, well, listen, I had no idea. They didn't tell me it was going to take 6 years. I don't know what I would have said if they would have said, this is going to take about 6 or 7 years. I said, really?
Well, this was more than twice as long as my longest. How can I explain this succinctly? When we shot the material, we shot over 200 hours, brought an editor in, and I was thinking I was going to make one kind of film, and it wasn't working out. And it wasn't until we got to Phil, who is an old friend and one of the best editors in town, when he became available, I had a very strong hunch that our problems are over. And we had to really rethink the way we were telling the story. So it was really an issue of how I had conceived it, and that the material was not bending to let us tell the story that way. And so we had to really start from scratch 2 years before it was finished in terms of having a concept, and that's because of Phil.
Now, who was it? Who had it up before he yelled at me? Right here.
My question is, your voice, projecting your voice in relation to the puppet.
Sure.
Did you use ventriloquist?
Well, you were projecting my voice? No, it was just, again, no, Jim always felt as though, I don't project my voice or ventriloquism. It's wherever the voice comes from. It is a voice that projects, but it was just a voice that I had. Jim always felt as though, he would give us a character, and he would say, what personality do you think it should have? So it really started with the character and the personality, and then the voice was always secondary. It's funny, people call me, the voice of Elmo. We're the performers of these characters.
Well, because I noticed that the children looked at the puppet while you were speaking.
Oh, sure.
Instead of looking at you, which would be a natural thing to look at the person.
It isn't. Actually, it isn't a natural thing to look at me, because you see us every day. And also the child watches the show, or anybody watches the show, they're looking at Elmo and Big Bird. They're not seeing us. So, of course, their gravitation is right directly to that character, their best friend. I always say I'm carrying around their friend. And that's what I do. They don't really they don't care to look at me. Once in a blue moon, there's a child that say, you're puppeteering it, aren't you? And that's a shame, because I wish they would keep their imagination a lot longer. But even when they do that, I still get them. I can still get them. Okay, 5 minutes more, okay. Yeah.
Did you bring Elmo?
Yes. Boy, you're good. She's a director.
That's what we were whispering down the line. It's like,
well, there's nothing happening down here, especially if we don't have any young kids, but there's absolutely nothing going on. Nothing's going on. Please remember to tell everybody you know, we are a small film, even though it has Elmo going on. If you know how to tweet, please tweet. Or Facebook, or smoke signals.
or speed dial.
We appreciate it. We think this is a wonderful story for people to see, especially in a theater. I think seeing this kind of film in a theater is
Hello.
How do you feel, Elmo?
Elmo feels good. Hi, everybody. It's so good to see all of you. Really is. Elmo has no idea why he's seeing. He's never seen before. Elmo doesn't understand that at all. Oh, vote. Elmo will vote. You taking a picture? Okay. Spread a little joy inside your heart. Until it comes the time for us to part, we'll be together soon and time will fly. 'Cause we never really say, never really say, never really say goodbye. And we love you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everybody. Go home. Walk, don't run. Bye, everybody.
Thank you all for coming tonight. Please join me in thanking these very special guests for being Elmo, A Puppeteer's Journey, opening December 23rd at the Penn Cinema. Thank you for honoring us with your presence.
December